Hi, my name is Clancy Hayes, and I'm here with you again today to share with you a book that I have been reading this summer. It's called The Divine Commodity by Skye Jethani, I believe is how you pronounce his name. You can see it is written there. It's a book published by Zondervan. One of the reasons that this book held my interest was because Mr. Jethani takes on the consumer mentality embraced by the American church today. He calls the church, and more precisely individual Christians, to assess themselves to see what motivates them to serve God. He compares the typical Christian to the life of Vincent van Gogh. Van Gogh, a famous painter, became disillusioned with the established church of his time, but he remained committed to Christ. He used his paintings to express his deep personal relationship with Christ while rejecting the consumerism of the church. Throughout the book, the author presents ways to pull ourselves from the grips of consumerism and presents practical ways to establish an intimate relationship with the God who created all things. The author insists that we must not abandon the church, but seek to reform it by reforming our own motivations and understanding of God. He challenges us to do the following things. He says we need to deconstruct our commodified view of God and reconstruct a sense of wonder through silence. Second, he says we need to deconstruct our branded identities and reconstruct our identities rooted in faith through love. Third, he says we need to destruct our attempts at transformation through external events and reconstruct internal transformation through prayer. Next, he says we need to destruct our devotion to institution as God's vessels and reconstruct relationships with our brothers and sisters in Christ. Next, he says we need to deconstruct our unceasing pursuit of pleasure and reconstruct the redemptive power of suffering through fasting. Next, he says we need to destruct our contentment with segregation and reconstruct the unity of all people through the cross. And finally, he says we need to deconstruct the individualism that is pushed by consumerism and reconstruct our love for strangers through hospitality. This book is really a phenomenal book. It takes an honest look at who we have become as a church and some of the things that have driven people from the church who were faithful attenders at one time because the church didn't fill the needs that they had, but also keeps individuals outside of the church from coming in. But he's honest enough to say that he, as the writer, has been tinged by consumerism, as most of us are, but he did not recognize how much consumerism had invaded his life and his relationship and his religion. I'd encourage you to pick up this book. Once again, it's called The Divine Commodity by Skye Jethani, however you pronounce that, and it is a book that was published a few years ago, but in the early second decade of the 21st century. Hey, until next time, have a great day and enjoy reading.